People are so mad about Steam because they've effectively created a monopoly by just being good. They're calling Steam a monopoly now because it's the best service and everybody's using it.
Every time these CEOs open their mouths, the only thing that spews forth is platitudes, nonsense, and a severe misunderstanding of not only their customers, but just video games as a baseline.
Yep.
We have Microsoft CEO coming out talking about how video game companies are no longer competing against one another. No, instead, they're competing against TikTok. And the only way to be able to compete is with better margins. Why are you guys like this? I swear, the video game industry and video games are so easy to figure out. Just make better games. And I'm sure there's going to be...
also, here's another thing. Make games. So many video games now are like... It's like a cutscene corridor. You're walking down an office building, and it's like, all right, turn to your right. Okay, so there was a explosion, and the planet got destroyed. And then, okay, next door, turn right. Yeah, that's all it is. Yeah, they're not making video games anymore. They're making movies. It's so obnoxious. Drives me crazy.
Some people that are going to say, LD, it's not that easy. And to which I respond, well, then you shouldn't be making video games. If you make a game that is good enough that I can't put it down, that means I can't pick up my phone.
Yeah.
Then we have Amazon out here lamenting their long-awaited exit from the games industry, tail between their legs, revealing their 15-year-long plan of buying a game platform, of building these studios and making games,
everything
of buying
failed.
Twitch. All of it was to fuel their ambition to take down Steam by buying them out of the industry. All the while they're failing, nobody's learning any of the lessons that need to be learned from any of this. So today, we're going to be talking about just how deluded these CEOs are and how little they actually think about or care about the games that are being made or the customers that they're supposed to be serving. How Steam still does nothing and comes out on top.
Because we don't want them to do anything. That's the secret. We don't want the new update. We don't want the big crazy change. We don't need the improvement to the UI. It's fucking fine. Stop messing with it. Just keep doing it. That's it.
One dirty little book is going to ruin everything.
Uh-oh.
But before that, I heard that you were having trouble finding gifts for this holiday season, and it just so happens I got your back.
What gift?
You ever seen a pen do this? Today's video is sponsored by Novium, the creators of the Hover Pen Interstellar, a pen that literally floats in midair. No tricks, no electricity, just precision-engineered magnets keeping it suspended like it's something out of a sci-fi movie. It's made from aerospace-grade aluminum. It feels great to write with, and it looks insane on my desk. The Interstellar even won the Time Award for innovation, and there's a premium version with an actual meteorite embedded in the tip, meaning that you can hold something that is older than the Earth itself. It comes in colors like space black, Neptune blue, and Mars magma, and the packaging alone
makes the red one spin faster?
A perfect gift for yourself or anyone else that appreciates something a little different. If you prefer something a little bit more customizable, check out the Hover Pen Future, which lets you switch between a fountain pen or a rollerball tip, still keeping that same futuristic design. Right now, you can get 15% off of all Hover Pens for the next 48 hours and 10% after that with free shipping worldwide. Use my code LEGENDARY or click the link in the description or pinned comment. You can also use the QR code on screen to go straight to the website with the discount automatically applied.
I think this is a perfect bullshit YouTube ad. It is. This is the perfect as seen on TV call right now, and you're going to get your pen that's older than the Earth. This is what YouTube ads need to be. Little things like this. This is perfect.
Novium for sponsoring today's video. For a while now, I've been wondering, contemplating why we have seen such a sharp decline in quality from AAA games. Where a lot of these harebrained decisions are coming from, how quickly this...
Because they hired a bunch of retards to make video games. That's the reason why. It's pretty fucking obvious, isn't it? I mean, I feel like it kind of is obvious.
industry. It's just been carved up, commodified, part and parcel. It just feels like every single move is being made to just make things that much more worse. And I've been trying to just track this mindset down, get a finger on it. And I kept hearing about this book that's titled Press Play, Why Every Company Needs a Gaming Strategy. And it came out this year, and it's been endorsed by multiple brands, most notably by Xbox. And this book is crazy.
What a surprise.
The whole entire thing is basically a corporate handbook about how more companies need to get involved in gaming, not to make games, but to fuel their revenue, drive engagement, and to monetize attention in the digital age. I haven't even finished this book yet, but the opening chapter of it just tells you everything that you need to know. They start by celebrating Burberry and Balenciaga for selling cosmetics in crypto games.
We are so cooked. Oh my God. Attention monopoly. Yeah, this is crazy.
They framed the decline of cable television as an opportunity to be able to keep consumers constantly engaged with brand content through interactive worlds and video games. And they actually...
Who is this for? People that are like, it should be illegal to sell this book. It should be illegal. You shouldn't be able to sell a book like this. People are going to read it. They're going to make something stupid. They're going to hurt themselves.
Claim that this is why Microsoft doubled down on gaming, and it's why they spent nearly $70 billion buying Activision Blizzard back in 2023.
Yeah.
But not once, not a single time do they ever describe players as anything other than consumers, these flocks that need to be herded towards more ads, more spending, and more manipulation. There's no talk about why people play, what they enjoy, or what makes the experience worthwhile, because... well, that's just not the concern anymore. Not for these executives, and I think that we can see that mindset perfectly reflected in Microsoft's own CEO, Satya Nadella.
So
I think that's what happens, right? Is that they're not even thinking about what the consumer wants. They're not thinking about what the player wants. They're thinking about how to make the most amount of money possible by selling these fucking games. That's the issue. We want entries in a spreadsheet? Yeah. It's like, that's what's so crazy is that all of these games come out that are just raw video games, things like Megabonk or games like Ball Pit or whatever. And you have so many of these indie successes that don't go and waste everybody's time making you do 50 dumb little tasks. It's just raw, direct, short form, fast-paced gameplay. That's all people want. And for some reason, it just can't be delivered.
The way we are thinking about gaming,
these big companies can't do it.
Now we're the largest publisher. Yeah. After the Activision, so therefore we want to be a fantastic publisher. Similar approach to what we did with Office.
Yeah.
We're going to be everywhere in every platform. But most importantly, the game business model has to be where we have to invent maybe some new interactive media as well. Because after all, the gaming's competition is not other gaming. Gaming's competition is short form video.
Yeah. Okay, you're right. So here's what you need to do, bro. Y'all have this problem where you keep making video games that are cutscene simulators that aren't fun to play. So if you want to have people not put down not put down your game and look up TikTok, make your game consistently entertaining and consistently engaging, and don't sign games and make games that it's like you watch a 3-minute cutscene, you walk from one door to another door, you have a 2-minute cutscene, and then after that you have to teleport somewhere else, and then it's a 5-minute cutscene. Unless that's the end of the game, that should never happen. Unless it is a story game with no gameplay.
And so if we as an industry don't continue to innovate, both how we produce, what we produce, how we think about distribution, the economic model, right? Best way to innovate is to have good margins. Because that's the way you can fund.
Not competing with other game companies. Now, that is a strategy. It's not one that I'd recommend to anybody else, but it does make a lot of sense coming from the premier publisher of some of the most I'll pick it up on sale games in the industry. When you stop competing with the rest of the industry, your priorities shift and your quality shifts with it. I cannot be the only one that looks at nearly every new Xbox release and says, yeah, that's a video game, instead of saying, damn, that's something I need to play. How exactly does that fit?
A lot of the games that are in Xbox nowadays, I don't really feel like are that great. Like, I was really holding out for Doom the Dark Ages. I thought that game was going to be really good, and I just really didn't like it. I didn't, man. I thought it was just very flaccid.
Into your business strategy.
Extremely
and the part
flaccid.
that really gets me is when he starts talking about treating Xbox the same way that they treated Office. What? The Office business is sustained by other businesses and institutions, not individuals. I don't know a single person that uses Office at home. Most people are using Google Docs, Notion, or Obsidian. The entire model relies on corporate licensing, not customer loyalty, and trying to apply that thinking.
I don't know if I'd agree with that. I think that there's a lot of people, there's like an unspoken large amount of people that have home office. I do, because it really, they've spent so much time developing that kind of dependency on it. Yeah, I use Office at home. Yeah, I think a lot of people do, especially older people, like probably not people in our generation, but like even one generation above us, like people that are like 40 and over. I think a lot of them probably have Office. Maybe not a majority, but a lot.
Video games just proves how disconnected this leadership is. Their focus is completely shifted. Instead of building great games, they're out here trying to make sure that every single screen can run some version of their ecosystem. It's all about service expansion, tiered access, add-ons, subscription padding, more studios to be able to feed that pipeline, and cuts anywhere that do not serve that loop. When you're not competing with other studios, you are no longer competing on quality. And when you're competing with social media, all you're really doing is chasing engagement. And if your content isn't any good, well, neither is your engagement.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the problem is that the video games are just simply not engaging. This is a big problem that I think games have now, is that they are just very simply and very obviously not that engaging to play. I felt that way with Ghosts of Yotai a little bit. I felt that way with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like, I logged onto the game, like, after I was playing it on stream, and I was pretty much done playing it on stream, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to play it off stream. I was like, I asked myself, I'm like, what am I really doing this for? Why am I really here? And then I quit.
Bro, just get it over with already. Yep. This is the slowest, most painful exit I have ever seen. Their next console isn't even a console. It's a hybrid console PC, reportedly shipping with Steam already integrated, which from a...
Brilliant decision, by the way. Xbox is actually making a great call with this. I totally support this decision.
Hardware standpoint, sure, that sounds fine. A mid-range build for people that want to get easier access into PC gaming, but it completely kills the point of Xbox as a platform. If Xbox games are already on Steam and Steam is going to be included with the console, then what exactly is Xbox supposed to be? Steam winning yet again by doing nothing. I am just...
Yeah, I think, honestly, the Xbox and... I feel like Steam has integration with... They're probably going to have it integrated with Game Pass, right? And so you're going to be able to play games with it on Game Pass and also with Steam, because they know that you have to have Steam, and also these games run on Windows, because part of like Microsoft's video game strategy is to also create an ecosystem that is continually reliant on Windows, because that's probably where they make a lot of money too. So like, it's an entire ecosystem that if you take one more step out of it, you can really see how everything fits together.
So tired of the circle that these guys speak in. We're competing with the attention economy. We need better margins. No, you need better games. You want people's attention? Make something that we can't put down. Tons of developers are already doing this by creating something that nobody else has made, or by building a culture of quality that earns loyalty. Tell me how you're competing with the attention economy when the next From Software game comes out. Tell me how that works with the next Larian project that's going to drop. When Sandfall does it, there are studios that are out there that are commanding attention because they deserve it. Look at Baldur's Gate 3. Most players have hundreds of hours in that game. It's a single-player game with no...
It's massively fucking popular, and I think that it's shocking how many people still regularly play Baldur's Gate 3. It's insane.
New content in 2 years, and it is still pulling 70,000 concurrent players on Steam. They act like we don't, on a monthly basis, see multiple games break through and find massive audiences. Oh, maybe that's because those games are half the price and actually worth...
Also, like, if you look at Arc Raiders, for example, Arc Raiders, you just immediately start playing the game. You immediately spawn in, you're playing the game. There's a cutscene, you make your character. There's a cutscene, then you're playing the game again. That's it. And that's all it is. You're just playing the game. So many of these developers want to become, movie directors. You're not Kojima. Stop it. Just make a video game.
Their fucking time. Then he goes on to say the best way to compete with short form content is by having better margins. Right, because nothing screams great games like an arbitrary 30% profit target.
Yeah, let's a 30% margin target. That's insane. That is really, really okay. Well, do you think what's going to happen with SteamOS once PC releases for functioning daily use and not just games? I think that Windows has such a massive hegemony over people's expectations that SteamOS will probably only be adopted. It will be adopted by, this is my guess, less than 5% of users after 10 years of PC users. Because people have grown up using Windows for 30 years. Windows, and also Windows works. That's another thing too. Windows does work. It's not like it's a bad operating system. I mean, yeah, it has issues, but I'm sure SteamOS will have issues too.
Number that is so divorced from reality, by the way, that it doesn't even exist in this industry. Most of these publishers are operating on razor-thin margins. Nintendo floats around 20% on a good year.
Exactly.
PlayStation's under 10. The only company that I know of that's around 30% is probably Valve, and that comparison is a joke. Valve is a platform that makes games as a hobby. Xbox is a platform that needs games to survive. You cannot hold yourself to that same metric without destroying everything that makes this medium work. And, of course, that's exactly what's happening.
I think we're going to get more ads in video games pretty soon. I think that there's probably going to be different versions of video games that get sold. And inside of the free versions of the games, there will be real estate inside of video games that is reserved for in-game advertising that players see, but then they can maybe pay extra money to opt out of. That's probably what I think is going to happen. Like if I was a money-hungry accounting demon, that's what I would do. Please don't say that. Well, that's smart, right? Wouldn't you do that? It's already happened? No, but to an extent. Won't play the game. You won't play that game until it becomes the game that you're going to play, and then you're going to play the game. I know people say, oh, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And people will accept this. They will. They will accept it.
Only way that Xbox can sniff 30% margins is by gutting itself from the inside out, raising prices, laying off workers, cutting corners, and shoving unfinished games through the door to be able to save a quarter's worth of cost. Since 2024, they have laid off over 10,000 employees. Xbox Game Pass is
so far
risen in prices. They delayed the $80 price hike, but that's still going to be coming. They've slowed down their console production.
$80 video games? Are you kidding me? Holy shit.
Because their sales are down nearly 30% year over year, and Outer Worlds 2 somehow launched with worse.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. The reason why I don't own an Xbox right now is because there are no good exclusive games on an Xbox that I can't just play with a PC. So Xbox allowed itself to be cannibalized by the PC gaming market. So why would somebody who has a PC that does gaming on a PC also buy an Xbox? Well, you'd buy a PlayStation 5. That way you can play everything. It's just logical.
Optimization.
And that's what Xbox really needs to overcome. And by the way, this is a consumer-friendly decision that they're making. It's a great decision that they're making for me and for you, for all of us. It's great that they're doing this. W to Xbox for it. But how are they going to make money with Xbox? The console itself has to be valuable. But the same as the Switch is valuable by its innate value of being portable, right? That has an innate intrinsic value. Xbox is basically just a box like PlayStation that plays video games. That's not valuable.
Than Borderlands 4, which honestly is a feat in and of itself. And for what? What is any of this for? It's definitely not for the players. We don't even respect the Xbox brand anymore. Nearly every major release under their umbrella has underperformed or just vanished within weeks. The only real success that I think that they've had is the Oblivion remake, but that doesn't even count in my eyes because that was a third party that made that.
The best game that you guys ever made was the game that you didn't make, that you just remade. And it wasn't you that remade it, it was these other guys you paid to remake it. Yeah, but you guys really did great there. Good job.
Game This is what happens when you stop caring about competition, when you stop caring about the games, when you start treating your audience like a reoccurring revenue stream. You turn one of the most creative industries on earth into a soulless factory, predictable, devoid of life, safe, and still somehow failing. I hope that you guys realize that none of this actually matters to these guys. None of this even interests them. That book that I mentioned earlier, Press Play, that's the playbook. That's the only thing that these guys care about right now. The opportunity that represents. Other industries, and more importantly, advertisers, are salivating at the mouth, desperate to sink their claws into gaming because they see it as the ultimate frontier, a space where they can feed you product placement and advertisements for hundreds of hours at a time. Who needs...
And you used to have these video games back in the 90s that was like Chester the Cheetah skateboarding Super Nintendo game, and it was cool. You used to have a game where it was like, it's a Pepsi video game, and you drive around collecting Pepsis. And it was cool. But now we get this garbage.
The 30-minute TV slot when you can instead just live inside of an ad. And they're not even being subtle about it. Juice Van Duren, a business analyst and industry insider, said it outright. With Game Pass growth slowing down and regulators closing in on microtransactions.
This is always a big problem, is that every company is beholden to the idea that they need to continue growing and continue making more money. So the problem is that there are two ways to make more money. You either find more customers or you increase the price of the product. Eventually, you will hit a market saturation point. Every company hits market saturation, where the amount of users levels off. Whether this is, and this is also true with anything. It's true with streaming. It's true with, YouTube. It's true with making money generally. It's true with like anything. The pizza delivery game, mini game in Yakuza. Yeah, exactly.
Publishers are now pivoting towards advertising as their new cash flow. Zynga and Square Enix are already partnering with Gadsme to be able to inject ads directly into their mobile titles. And according to the New York Times, Xbox employees are now testing an ad-supported version of their cloud gaming service.
Oh boy, who's excited? Oh,
that's the off-ramp. That's where they're headed now. Away from creativity, away from quality, straight towards a world where the goal isn't to make better games. It's to make you stay long enough to be able to sell you something else. These guys aren't wrong that they're competing with social media. That's true for every single entertainment platform and format.
Every piece of entertainment competes with every piece of entertainment. This is not any sort of brilliant analysis. And some of them are a Venn diagram where the circles are closer together. Of course.
Out there right now, there are hundreds of billions, if not trillions of hours being spent doom scrolling social media. You guys sit here and watch me for 20 plus minutes talking about video games, ranting about video games. But the solution to that problem is not more services. And I can definitely tell you it's not more advertising. It's just make better products, make better games, make something that grabs people's attention. But seeing that Xbox is a company that largely has been making games that nobody's really all that interested in, they're just going to fail in all of their ambitions.
Yep.
You know, I don't even think that these guys are even talking about the attention economy. Even though that's the discussion that they have, and that's what they're kind of talking about. I think what they're really focused on is the indirect revenue that they could be making off of advertising. They are looking at these social...
That is the new big thing. And you are going to see a reduction in fantasy games because more... You know how, like, okay, do you know how one of the driving... You remember, like, a Pizza Hut building? You ever drive by a Pizza Hut nowadays? And now it's maybe a Culver's, or it's a chiropractor place, or it's a veterinary clinic, or it's a bookstore. But it's a Pizza Hut. And now every single store is a box. And the reason why is because a box is a lot easier to sell than one of the old Pizza Hut stores, because nobody wants to look like, oh, we're in the old Pizza Hut building. That's why KFC, McDonald's, Taco Bell, and Wendy's all look the exact same. They do. They're all the exact same. And because of that, you have a total reduction in the interesting types of architecture and design. And I think that the same exact thing is going to happen with video games, because in the same way that the resale value of these buildings drives the lack of innovation and architectural design and uniqueness of these different fast food restaurants, I think that the ability to force inject ads into a more fantasy or a more modern or sci-fi area inside of a video game is much more monetizable. And because of that, it's going to create a positive feedback loop around creating video games that way, because they will be easier to get funded because you can expect to make revenue from more places. I know. Sounds like a sad world. Ghostby, you're right. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. It's obvious.
Media companies. So when they say we're competing with these social media companies, they're talking about how these guys have super low headcounts, barely do nothing, and all of their money is made through advertising. They see that and they want it.
Clip that,
I think
by
that
the way.
Back in 2024, ad spend was some odd $1 trillion or over $1 trillion. They want a piece of that pie, and advertisers want access to this industry, and that is a terrible combination to have together. I don't think that it's going to work.
Well,
personally,
it's a problem because advertising already worked. That's why you're playing the product. You're already the fact that you own the product and you're using it means that the advertising worked.
I just don't see it happening, because maybe it'll work in some spaces, but with the declining quality of AAA games and the increase in competition that we're seeing from independents, most people are just going to turn and go in another direction. Why do you think I would want to sit around and watch ads in a video game, let alone pay for a game that would have advertisements in it?
Yeah.
Well, I could maybe see that kind of thing working in the free-to-play space, sure, but chances are that's way too narrow for the kind of money that these guys want to make.
Well, even in free-to-play games, a lot of that is problematic, too. It's not like it's a huge amount of money. The majority of money they make is from microtransactions, to the best of my knowledge. Because also, a lot of the people that are free-to-play games are extremely popular in third-world regions. And in a lot of these free-to-play games in these third-world regions, the ad pricing is much lower. Would you rather advertise to somebody that has a country with GDP, an average annual income of $5,000 or $50,000? Well, I wonder. It's obvious.
That's not what they want. They want it everywhere.
South America,
they want to hold
East
nothing
Asia,
sacred. Yeah. Notice how this conversation has nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with video games, or even really video games as a business. It's just musings of these executives and their plans for the consumers, and how they plan to usher them towards more sales and more revenue streams.
More and more ads.
In that ambition, I just don't think that these guys understand anything. I think that they are so blinded by a veil of cash over their eyes that they can't see anything past the opportunities, and are completely ignoring how this industry works, why we want to play these games, or what we're actually interested in. And I think that that is a recipe for disaster. And the funny thing is it's one that's already played out. I have a tendency to forget that Amazon is even involved in the games industry outside of Luna.
Yes, so did they.
Their failed version of the already failed Google Stadia, and Twitch, their streaming platform that's basically running on fumes at this point thanks to poor moderation and even worse management. Twitch has mostly just become a haven for botted views, debauchery, dog shocking, and manipulation at this point. But
don't forget sexual assault.
Amazon has made and published games. Heck, they even have their own storefront built right into the Amazon website. And if you've ever clicked it, you'll find Jackbox sitting next to Rope Hero Combat Spider Battle, Naughty Schoolboy Escape, Breaking the Chains, and My Spa Salon Massage Simulator 3.
Okay. God, what the fuck?
Oops, sorry. No, wrong Amazon game store. Turns out that's the games and app store. If you want premium titles, then you need to actually specifically search digital games, and you'll get a listing of the games that you can buy, but not actually play through Amazon. You have to launch those through their publisher's own platform. Oh, no, maybe you can actually use them in the Amazon Games app, which is another service that they have that has...
Oh, wait, they have an app, a launcher too? I didn't even know about this. Oh, just what we needed. Another thing that I have to have login credentials for. Thank God. Why can't things just be saved locally?
5 games that I've never heard of, and no search functionality, but you can buy games from the Amazon store's website and then load them into the Amazon Games app, and then you can play them.
Oh.
Now I know what you guys are
easy.
thinking. Do they not realize how stupid that is? Why would
No.
anybody do that when you could just go buy those games directly from those platforms, or better yet, from Steam? And exactly, that's why nobody uses it. 15 years of Amazon in the games business, and they didn't want to let players search for games in their own app because, well, that means that you would not go to their website where they could just sell you other stuff.
Well, yeah, they're just stupid. The people that run these companies, you need to understand something. A lot of the people that are in leadership positions inside of companies are functionally fucking retarded. I've had to deal with some of these people myself. They're loser retards that don't know anything. And if they didn't get in through some form of nepotism or some sort of luck 20 years ago, they'd be living under a bridge. And unfortunately for all of us, they're an executive at a company. Some of the guys that work at these companies, especially the financial guys, they're smart. But a lot of these design and principle and like philosophy guys of like where the company is going and like how to design a product, these people are fucking morons. They have no idea what they're doing at all.
Amazon's foray into the gaming space has never been about players or games or even convenience for that matter. It has always been about corporate aspirations trying to corner yet another market through sheer spending power and apparently also their incompetence. An approach, by the way, that has failed spectacularly, from their publishing efforts collapsing to their near inevitable exit from the space. Amazon has proven time and time again that you cannot buy your way into video games. Bless their little hearts. Amazon's failure is not...
Well, you can if you buy good video games. The problem is that whenever you buy a piece of shit, people aren't interested in eating it. That's the problem. You bought Lost Ark, Blue Protocol, you made New World. Well, those games aren't very good. So that's the problem, is the games. And these games had tremendous marketing. Amazon totally failed twice. They failed with Lost Ark and they failed with New World. And it's not all their fault with Lost Ark because it's made by a Korean developer called Smilegate. I understand that. And the game in general has lost popularity for a number of reasons. Like, I've heard that in Korea now, MapleStory is beating Lost Ark again. Take me back to Volton. Those were the days.
Not something that has happened suddenly. This is something that's been going on for years. It's been years in the making. Back in 2016, they had took to the stage at TwitchCon to announce that they were supposedly going to be making their grand entrance into big budget video game development with games like Breakaway, Crucible, and New World. 3 projects that were meant to prove that Amazon could stand alongside some of the industry giants. And instead, well, each one of those games ended up crashing harder than the last. Breakaway was quietly canceled after a lifeless alpha.
Oh, I didn't even hear that.
Crucible actually launched, but then was unlaunched a month later and then deleted from history.
So wait a minute. Did Crucible die so Concord could be aborted? I think that's what might have happened. I didn't even know about this.
History, and New World was the latest one and the best one, and it lasted the longest. People thought it might have
Concord Alpha
actually work.
I had no idea.
It slowly bled out, and Amazon finally ended development altogether. That's kind of always been the pattern.
They never listened. The people that were running the game didn't listen.
With these guys, it's a lot of big talk, poor execution, a lot of money wasted, and a lot of messy endings. And it's defined Amazon's entire history in games. After nearly a decade of trying, all they've really accomplished is, well, nothing. And the craziest part is that none of this was ever about making games or video games themselves. Yes, the act of making games was never for the purpose of making games. Their entire plan was to disrupt Steam. That's what former Prime Gaming VP Ethan Evans had admitted earlier this.
Yeah, they want to have they want to be able to get the 20% that Steam is getting. It's pretty simple.
Year that their entire goal was to take down Valve's platform, and their reasoning, we're bigger and we can do it.
Yep.
Reading Ethan Evans' post directly from LinkedIn, as VP of Prime Gaming at Amazon, we failed multiple times to disrupt the platform Steam. We were at least...
The reason why is because of distribution and production. So basically, back in the day, big companies could bully their way into spaces that they didn't really belong into because the amount of distribution was very limited and the channels were extremely traditional and very much legacy channels. Like, for example, getting your video game on Super Nintendo was a lot harder than getting your game on Steam, for example. Now, anybody can use a product. Anybody can go download a app or anything like that. And word of mouth advertising, which is the strongest form of advertising, by the way, totally overrules any of this.
250 times bigger, and we tried everything, but ultimately Goliath lost. The 15-year attempt to challenge Steam started before I was VP of Prime Gaming, but we never cracked the code, not under my leadership or
because
anyone.
You weren't thinking about improving the game. You're improving the user experience. That's the reason.
Else's. The first way we tried to enter the online game store market was through acquisition. We acquired Reflexive Entertainment, a small PC game store, and tried to scale it. It went nowhere. Then, after buying Twitch, we created our own PC game store. Our assumption was that gamers would naturally buy from us because they were already using Twitch. Wrong.
You should have integrated better with the UI. You could have maybe done this if you could have integrated better with the UI and had it directly transition to Amazon. But you didn't. It was bad implementation. Like, this is a decent idea. It's just badly implemented.
Finally, we built Luna, a game streaming service that let people play without a high-end PC. Around the same time, Google tried the same thing with Stadia. Neither gained significant traction.
Way
the whole
too
time,
early.
Steam dominated despite being a relatively small company compared to Amazon and Google. The mistake was that we underestimated what made consumers use Steam. It was a store, a social network, a library, a trophy case, all in one, and it worked. At Amazon, we assumed that our...
Most importantly, it was not invasive. Steam is not invasive in the way that the Epic Game Launcher, the Battle.net launcher is invasive. Steam is just a thing that plays your video games. People don't want an experience... And it has reviews on it, too. That's another big factor. People don't want an experience. They don't want your user acquisition to fit into their larger business model. The users don't care about fitting into your business model. The users just want to play their fucking games. So every single time that you put something in the way of that, you are putting yourself at odds with your customer. And whenever your business model makes money, when you put yourself at odds with its customer, you have a business model that will fail.
Size and visibility would be enough to attract customers, but we underestimated the power of existing user habits. We never validated our core assumptions before heavily investing in solutions. The truth is that gamers already had the solution to their problems, and they weren't going to switch platforms just because a new one was available.
I think that's a very fair analysis. Steam doesn't have any problems, so why would people change? True.
We needed to build something dramatically better, but we failed to do so, and we needed to validate our assumptions of our customers before starting to build, but we never really did that either. Just because you're big enough to build something doesn't mean people will use it.
Exactly.
Man, that last line really says it all. Just because you're big enough to build something doesn't mean people will use it. It's the most honest thing that I think I've ever heard a tech executive say, and they somehow still don't understand what it means. We fail to understand.
I think that a lot of these guys understand stuff well in retrospect. Like, they know how to evaluate mistakes, but they don't know how to turn that evaluation into a good decision-making process for the future. And I think that's the problem. It's like, I think, yeah, you pretty much nailed it. Like, yeah, that's about right. Like, there's a few other things, but yeah.
And user habits. No kidding. You guys fail to understand people. You fail to understand games. You fail to understand why players are even here in the first place. I said this earlier last year. Evans was so close when he had said gamers had already found a solution. The problem is what they don't realize is the solution that players had found.
There's a lot of things like this. Like NFTs were a great example of this, where NFTs were a solution looking for a problem. If your business model is being a solution looking for a problem, not a very good way of making decisions.
The solution to them. You are the problem we are solving. Amazon thought that they could brute force their way into the PC gaming space with money and marketing, but what they never understood is why people use Steam. It's not just a storefront. It's a platform built on trust. We trust that Steam is looking out for our best interests, and also it's pretty damn convenient. I think that Gabe Newell had a quote where he had said that the best way to beat piracy is just to provide a better service.
That piracy is a service issue, which I think in a lot of cases is true. Like a lot of people, like for example, if there was a very easy to use Nintendo version of Steam, I would download it if I could just go on and play any Nintendo game on Nintendo Steam. And I understand that they have a version of that now, but it's just not very good. So that would be crazy. It would be. And you can. Yeah, they have a version, but it's not perfect, right? And price, yeah. And the pricing is very high for a lot of these old games. It's and also like for a lot of things, like you have regional pricing, which is another thing too, where like a lot of South American players, for example, they don't have as much fucking money, right? It's just the way it is. They don't have as much fucking money, and because of that, they need to have cheaper prices. So if you want to hit the South American market, you can't be selling a game for $60. That's just how it is.
Yet here you have Amazon putting out a storefront with 12 extra steps beyond just clicking buy and playing a game. I wonder why you failed.
Or 6.
Valve is not some faceless corporation that's chasing quarterly growth targets. It's a company that is ran by people who actually understand the medium and the customer. When Valve is making changes, as long as they're not being forced by credit card holders, it almost always is in favor of the developers or the players. Keep in mind that these guys have banned ads in games. They've held developers to their release schedules and more. They give creators real tools. They don't...
and also because Valve sees the value in that. Not only are you holding them to a higher standard, but whenever a person has a bad experience with a video game, they have a bad experience with Steam. So when a video game is a scam, you know who they contact? Steam support.
And dime their users at any given chance. They just treat the ecosystem like it's a living thing, not a cash register. Meanwhile, Amazon thought that they could just buy up a storefront, buy Twitch, throw some cash at some streamers, and make some live service games that are constantly pumping engagement, and that would make them relevant. But nobody...
Well, this is another big issue that like a lot of companies have, and you know, I'm a streamer, so it's like, why would you self-report it? But it's true that you can't pay streamers to make a game popular. You can pay streamers to show people a game, but there are a lot of games that, for example, like remember Halls of Torment, whenever I played that game, and the video that I did of it got like 1 million views, and it was super, super popular. But the truth is that, like, you know, there weren't really that many people like streaming it besides me, and the game was good, and like they didn't have any marketing really besides that. And after I played it, the population for the game went up like crazy, right? Uma Masamune is another one too, right? They didn't pay anybody. The game just grew and blew up in America because it was popular, and it had like this gimmick to it that I thought was really funny, right? And I think a lot of people thought it was funny, and it also played relatively well, and you know, it was a good gameplay loop, right? And so the big problem that a lot of these developers have is that they think that they can rely, this is what Diablo 4 does, is that these big companies think that they can rely on a bunch of stupid, uninformed like players to just buy the games up anyway.
Cared because it wasn't built for them. That's the one thing that these guys can't seem to get through their heads, and it's that it doesn't matter how much money you have if you aren't selling something with the customer in mind. I think that this is the end of Amazon's adventure in gaming. While we've already talked about the platforms that they built and the games that they've developed, do not forget that these guys, their publishing record is the brown Midas touch of modern gaming. Lost Ark, Throne and Liberty, Blue Protocol, all these games brought to the West under Amazon's banner, every single one of them disasters in their own way, inflated player counts, botted numbers, performance issues, relaunches, and suffocating monetization. Each one of them a reminder that their interest was never in the player experience, only in extraction.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and each of these games, like for example, New World had so many problems at release that they could have listened to the players for, but they chose not to. They chose not to listen to the players, and they went and they did what they wanted. And it was a failure because of that.
Honestly, I am so glad to watch these guys fail because it's the same road that Ubisoft went down. It's the one that Microsoft is already walking. The creative voice, the empathetic voice, the one that actually understands the player, has been completely replaced by executives who see art as leverage and culture as an algorithm. These companies think that they're competing for...
The problem is that they're not entirely wrong, but they don't understand that you need to have something that is appealing at a core level that people actually want to play. it's actually true that, yes, a lot of people, like, algorithms matter a lot. Like, being able to get videos out and make sure that your game is seen matters a lot. But it doesn't matter how much of that you do if the game isn't good. And that's the big problem, is that so much money gets invested into marketing when a video game that's very good will eventually probably do well. Many of them eventually do well. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. And you really, I mean, spend more money on actually making the game good.
Attention, but what they're really competing for is patience at this point, and a lot of these guys have already burned through it. Players do not want to be managed. They want to be inspired. They want games that capture them, games that make them feel like they were meant to be played by them. Spending money on a platform that is convenient and respects them, that's what players want right now. And until these companies start to remember that, or at least realize it, until they understand that games aren't made for engagement, they're actually made for real people, they're going to keep failing one after another. And
this is a big problem with, I think, a lot of media on the internet, is that media on the internet becomes itemized and turned into a hodgepodge of numbers and algorithmic decisions. But the reality is that people usually, it's the same with YouTube videos, right? Like, a lot of people make YouTube videos just to fit into the algorithm. They make the exact same content. They talk about the exact same things all the time. And I understand, like, to some extent, every YouTube channel does this, because very few YouTube channels cover everything, obviously. But what I'm saying is that videos, like, for example, like the H3H3 Vape Nation video, right? Like, back in the day, kind of experimental, random videos like that are a lot less common nowadays, because it's much easier to just simply continue pushing out the status quo content that will make people happy on a general sense, right? It is. And I think this is the case with a lot of things. And you see this with video games. You see this with movies. That's why we keep getting new Spider-Man movies every single fucking year, right? New Transformers movies. What do Spider-Man and Transformers have in common? Kids usually watch the movies, and they also have a lot of action figures attached to them. So the idea of selling this movie also has another component of merchandising to it. It's kind of what I said before about Pizza Hut, right? Is like, again, like, why is it that all of these different movies are being made that, you know, we don't see as many Good Will Hunting movies, right? We don't see as many, Risk Cutters, A Love Story, or, Inception, right? I mean, obviously that was made by Christopher Nolan, so you probably see a couple more of those. But in general, like, you don't see as many of those movies, but you do see a lot of these movies that are based around merchandising, IPs, and other things like that. It's because they can make money inside of a larger scope.
Keep making videos on them. It is wild for me to hear one of these executives come forward to tell people that their plan essentially had nothing to do with video games, or even players for that matter. It was all just an effort to be able to conquer Steam and hijack their revenue. This is like somebody that wants to coach professional sports that's never played the game or even watched it for that matter. You know nothing. You don't know anything about the game, the players.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's just somebody that's just trying to go through the motions and believe that they're going to get...
people that try to buy their way into an industry without understanding it. I think that, like, for example, remember when Michael Bloomberg tried to run for president? That didn't go very well. Even though he had like $20 billion and he paid everybody to support him, it didn't make a difference because it was a bad product. Fundamentally, it was a bad product. And you cannot solve that problem with money.
The outcome that they want just because they spent money on it. But that's just not how any of this stuff works. It's faking it till you make it at a corporate level. I told you guys, they have no idea what they're doing in some of these companies. Nobody wants to listen to me. Now thinking about it, he laid out their entire plan. Twitch was a part of that plan. Looking at that platform, with as many issues as that platform has, it's not profitable. Its moderation is terrible. It's constantly in negative headlines all of the time.
Yep.
Why would you hold on to that platform anymore? I feel like I
think that Amazon has a tremendous value with Twitch. I think Twitch gives Amazon a de facto hegemony over the entire Western market of live streaming. It does. It is a massive, incredibly valuable platform. But the problem is that they don't utilize it in ways that they should. So that's what I'm saying. It spreads propaganda. Well, it's not about propaganda necessarily. It's about how it fits into their content ecosystem and their product ecosystem. In the same way that, remember what I was saying before about how Game Pass fits into Xbox, which fits into Windows, which fits into, maybe Azure Cloud or something else like that, right? If you're doing cloud gaming, and you have all of these services that are fitting together inside of an ecosystem. In the same way, Twitch fits into the Amazon ecosystem as well. And I think that Twitch does have a lot of value to Amazon. It's just that Amazon doesn't really capitalize on it. And I think the people that are running Twitch are generally incompetent. That's what I would say.
We're going to be hearing some news on that pretty soon, especially with a lot of layoffs that I've seen them have, especially when a lot of those layoffs are coming from key leadership as well. But I can't imagine they're going to hold on to the company. I just don't
think they will.
I mean, I could maybe make the argument.
I think that they will. I'm fairly certain that they will, at least for the foreseeable future.
That it's a loss leader for Amazon Web Services. I think I've heard Asmongold make that argument before, but with how politicized and polarized that website has become, there's no way. It's only going to have a negative effect anymore.
Well, the problem really is that, and this is the issue, it's that the politicized and polarization of Twitch is an extremely top-heavy issue. So basically, it's me, Hassan, and like 5 other people that are causing all of the social media outrage problems with Twitch. But the issue also is that we are the ones that are representing the platform because of the way that the platform shows streams. So anybody that goes to Twitch is going to see one of our streams at the very top, right? And then they see that and they think it's the entire website. The fact is that there's people that say worse stuff than we do on YouTube all the time, and we're also on YouTube too, but YouTube doesn't have this problem. It's because the YouTube algorithm allows people to ignore content that's problematic or annoying to them much more easily than the Twitch algorithm does. The Twitch algorithm is basically just the more popular you are, the more visibility you have. So the problem is that when something is really popular, but it's also very controversial, that is what's effectively being represented on the website on the front page. So really, and I don't know how Twitch can solve this problem either, because if they start giving other random channels, front page or something like that, or hurting, bigger channels' discoverability, you're going to have those bigger channels lead to YouTube or Kick. So like they're kind of stuck in a catch-22 with this. But the truth is that the problems with Twitch are actually very, very centralized around a small group of people, right? Like, so for example, if you look at all of the combined viewership from every problem viewer, let's say, or problem channel is, let's say, 120,000, right? 120,000 average viewers. If you look at this right here, that is less than 10%. That means over 90% of the content has nothing to do with that. But the problem, and YouTube has so much politicized content, it's everywhere, right? But the reason why it's not an issue is because you don't see it. Whereas on Twitch, it's on the front page. That's why everybody was keeping talking about hot tub streams all the time. Hot tub streams are less than 1% of the traffic on the entire website. Really? It was less than 1% of the traffic, but if you read Twitter or you go on TikTok or Instagram, people think it's half the whole website. It's just a misrepresentation that's created by Twitch's algorithm. And again, that's Twitch being bad.
It's funny that Amazon talks about how they were trying to compete with Steam, but these guys never understood or learned the golden rule. Steam is not an angel, okay? They do some heinous stuff. CS skins, as an example, an entire microtransaction ecosystem that has its own economy that's attached to it.
Yep.
To the likes that nobody has ever seen before.
It's insane.
But never compromise the quality of their games or the convenience and quality of the service. You never do that. And that's what these guys make sure that they never do.
Yeah, exactly. They never make the product worse in order to make more money. And I think that that's what Epic Games does a lot, is that you get all these pop-ups, you get these updates and everything. And this sounds really good from the perspective of Epic Games. But like as a user, whenever I get a pop-up like that, I want to uninstall Epic Games because I don't want a pop-up. Why would I want a pop-up? That's annoying to me.
This is sales 101. You can pull some heinous stuff. You can do some gnarly things to customers. You can drain their wallets. But the product and the service always come first.
right.
If the quality isn't there, if you aren't selling them,
that's why you have those gacha games that do super well, but people keep playing them, even though people are spending hundreds of dollars on them, thousands of dollars on them. It's because games like Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, Wuthering Waves, etc., they're good games. Fundamentally, they are good games.
To buy, the rest falls apart. These guys have lost sight of that. That's their biggest problem. And they're blinded by money. And because they're blinded by money and these other opportunities, it's made it more difficult for them to make money. You know, looking at Xbox's situation, if Xbox was making Arc Raiders, if they made Expedition 33, if they made Baldur's Gate 3 or Elden Ring, do you guys think that these guys, do you think anybody would be complaining about increasing prices? Do you think anybody would be, do you think they
wouldn't have a problem? People don't have a problem with the prices of video games as much as they have a problem with the quality. Like, if Expedition 33 was $70, everybody would be buying it. It wouldn't matter. Same with Elden Ring or Baldur's Gate 3. Like, it's a value proposition that's the issue. Most of these video games are not worth $70 in the eyes of most consumers.
A hard time selling their consoles? Do you think that they would have any problems with holding attention with the attention economy? These guys are so stupid. Anyway, that's all I have. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel. This is like some of my favorite topics to be able to cover. I love just rolling all over these guys. But follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter.
Yeah.
And catch me in the next one. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. Peace.
Family. I think another really big issue, and this is something people might not talk about, is that Xbox doesn't really do a very good job managing their game studios. Like, they made Hi-Fi Rush, which did really well, and then they got rid of that studio. Meanwhile, 343 Studios has made 3 bad Halo games. That is your main flagship franchise. Halo and Gears of War are Xbox. Those are the premier prime Xbox video games. And if you can't make good games for those two, nothing else matters. That is the only thing that makes a difference, right? I bought an Xbox to play Halo. I bought a 360 to play Gears of War. That's it. And so, too bad Halo games, Infinity was peak. Apparently not according to most people, right? I'm going to link you guys the video. Give it a like. I mean, I agree with pretty much everything he was saying in this, right?